presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Florida.
AT&T Park, City by the Bay. Last night, Christian Yelich left this park. Derek Dietrich wasn't far behind. A pair of Casey McGee's singles made the difference, and the Fish won the ballgame. Tonight, Tom Kohler gets the ball, and the Big Salad takes aim at the Gigantes on Late Night with a Fish. San Francisco, glorious sunshine. Tom Kohler getting ready as Miami gets set to take on the Giants. Yes, that is Tim Lincecum. Haircut, new mustache coming in. Come on in, AT&T Park. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz, along with Tommy Hutton. One of the great things about baseball is that when you lose a game, the next night you have another game. And the Marlins redeemed themselves last night. Sometimes it can happen within a game. And that happened to Casey McGee last night.
Well, the thing about this series so far, you don't want to keep blowing 4-1 leads. The Marlins have done that. Fortunately, last night, they were able to come back and win.
And it was a moment for McGee in the middle of the game that turned a little bit better at the end.
Boy, and he felt bad about it. And talking to Allison after the game, Casey said, boy, I wanted to make that play, so Henderson Alvarez would have had an opportunity to win the game. But you know what? He got his redemption. How about Casey McGee? 429 with runners in scoring position this year. He had two big hits last night in those situations.
So the Giants and the Marlins have split the first two games of this series. Pitching matchup is a really good one. Tom Kohler would like to use a little more of an economy of pitches than his last start.
Rich, only on Late Night with the Fish would you get the Big Salad against the Freak. But yeah, 104 pitches in 3 2/3 innings. He has to cut down on that. Tim Lincecum doesn't throw as hard as he did a few years ago. He's learned how to be a little bit of a better pitcher, though.
All right, so it's Lincecum against Kohler. It's the Marlins against the Giants. Game 3 on a Saturday night in the city. On a Late Night with the Fish, the Marlins and the Giants. In San Francisco, Pitch a Penny brings you the first pitch. Tim Lincecum's first pitch to Christian Yelich, strike one. And this would be pitch number 2. Marlins and Giants underway. Lincecum misses outside. The Marlins have opened the first 2 games of this series with a bang. Derek Dietrich in game 1, a first-inning homer, and Yelich last night homering in the first at bat of the ball game. Lincecum turns, and there's the changeup, a pitch that he's certainly gone to a lot more often in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, no longer does he have that fastball mid-90s, but still possesses an excellent changeup. He'll use it to righties and lefties, but really successful to the left-handers with it.
Fastball let her high. Yelich goes down. Lincecum strikes out Christian Yelich to open the night.
What's a good pitch just does catch the upper part of that strike zone. A lot of umpires don't call that high strike, but obviously home plate umpire Gary Cederstrom does.
Derek Dietrich now with Giancarlo Stanton right behind him. And a fastball misses up to Dietrich, who's hit in 4 straight. And as a homer in both ball games here in San Francisco, he had a 2-run homer in the 3rd as Miami built a 4-1 lead last night.
You know, you watch Lincecum, even though he's not overpowering, he can still pitch up in the zone with that fastball because he has such a good changeup.
Lincecum coming to the end of his contract after last year, signing a 2-year extension worth $35 million. And there were some that raised the eyebrows because Lincecum didn't have a great year last year. Dietrich pulls it. Hicks on to first in time. He's got the first 2 outs of this first inning. The lineup for the Marlins, a game over 500 at 22-21. You've seen Yelich, you've met Dietrich. Say hi to Giancarlo Stanton. Casey McGee, Garrett Jones, Jared Saltalamacchia snapped an 0 for 26 with 4 hits last night. Marcelo Zuna gets a start in center. Echeverria at short. Tom Kohler in the 9th spot. JM Lexus bringing you Miami's lineup. And here is Stanton to face Lincecum. Stanton's hit streak ended last night. Amid all the excitement for the Marlins in their 7-5 win, Stanton was 0 for 5 with a pair of strikeouts. And he has seen a steady diet of that here in San Francisco.
And I think even last night is an indication of what the Marlins did offensively. They will put together the hits and the runs with Stanton going hitless.
One thing Stanton does that not a lot of power hitters do, he doesn't get out of the box much. He'll take a pitch or swing at a pitch and just stand his ground. So the at-bats generally happen pretty quickly. Swing and a miss there.
Big rip at a pretty good pitch to hit. You know, if Stanton gets comfortable in there and he doesn't want to leave.
He's had 2 pretty good curveballs to swing at, and he can't hold up on a high fastball. So Lincecum looks sharp tonight. He goes 1, 2, 3 with a pair of strikeouts. to you by Toyota. Let's go places by AT&T Uverse TV. Check availability 1-800-PICK AT&T. Rethink possible by Checkers. Visit your local Checkers for the $2 shrimp and fries box. By your South Florida Honda dealers and sfhondadealers.com. This is a 6 o'clock local start here in San Francisco, and they expect another sellout tonight. JM Lexus brings you the Giants lineup. They come in at 27-16. Angel Pagan is in center field. Hunter Pence in right. Pablo Sandoval is heating up. You can see the 7-game hit streak. Big Michael Morse out of Nova High School. Hector Sanchez will do the catching. Gregor Blanco's in left. Brandon Hicks, followed by Brandon Crawford, followed by Tim Lincecum. And so here is Kohler. And of course, as we've talked about, his last start was a messy one in terms of pitch count and innings. Just 3 2/3 against the Dodgers, 103 pitches. A bouncer to short. Echeverria gets the first out.
Well, 1 pitch, 1 out. That's a good sign for Tom Kohler. Here's a look at the defense behind the big salad. Yelich, Marcell Ozuna back in there. So Ozuna goes into center field, standing in right. McGee and Echeverria, Dietrich and Jones. What a game Garrett Jones had last night. And Jared Saltalamacchia, he too, quite a game last night.
Hunter Pence. And Kohler misses in with a fastball. Pence, just a bundle of kinetic energy in the box. Never stands still. A dangerous guy. 4 for 10, a double in this series. And he has 10 for his last 19.
One of the few hitters in this era that chokes up on the bat. It's a good place for Tom Kohler. He had a game here last year. 7 innings, gave up just 3 hits and 1 run, and won that game. So he's pitched well here at AT&T.
We talked about it last night. There have been some great Marlin pitching performances here in San Francisco, and in this ballpark in particular. Josh Johnson, Ricky Nolasco used to pitch well here. Chris Volstad. Anibal Sanchez flirted with a no-hitter here.
Well, you're right about Ricky Nolasco. He always loved coming here.
Right center and deep. Stan has had quite a workout on this road trip. It seems in San Diego, Los Angeles, and even here in San Francisco, he's had a lot of work out there.
He's chased down a lot of balls. He had a lot of opportunities. Some he was able to get to, some he couldn't. Thursday night in the game, he was moving around last night, and he gets tested. A little brighter sunshine out there early in this game with the 1 hour earlier start.
Buster Posey's getting the night off, but the Giants still have plenty of bats in the middle of their order. And Pablo Sandoval is one of them. He's got Morse behind him. Kohler has the first 2 outs. Breaking ball, ground ball, Etch diving on his knees, on to first. He's safe at first base. Jones came off the bag to get the throw.
What an outstanding effort by Adeiny Hechavarria. First of all, just to catch it, the ball takes him into center field. He just can't get enough on the throw, and it pulls Garrett Jones off the bag. But throwing from one knee with all his momentum going the other way. Great effort, though, by Etch.
Infield hit for Sandoval. His hit streak is now at 8 straight. And here's Michael Morse. If you missed us last night, we talked a lot about Morse and the impact he's had on this Giants lineup. The Giants and the Marlins come into this series, 2 of the best offensive teams in the National League. And it's amazing because you don't normally talk about the Marlins and the Giants in terms of home runs, slugging percentage, runs scored. The Rockies lead all of those categories. But the Marlins are second in runs. The Giants are third. The Giants are second in homers. The Marlins are third. The Giants are second in slugging. The Marlins are third.
Yeah, when you think about these two teams, first of all, you think about the ballparks they play in that are not usually offensively oriented. But both clubs have been hitting well at home. Certainly the Marlins have. We know that. The Giants have been hitting well everywhere. The Giants are 13-7 at home, but they're also 14-9 on the road.
3-0 pitch and a strike. Now, Marlins Live, you're talking about the number of teams that have players with 5 or more home runs, and the Marlins have 6. The Giants have 5.
I think you could expect to see Toronto on that list. You could expect to see the Rockies.
Boy, high fastball, and Morse had a big rip at it. And Kohler, down 3-0 in the count, has come back to run the count full. Sandoval will be on the move from first. See if he goes back to the fastball. Yep, elevated it and struck him out. Tom Kohler gets to the first. An infield hit, the only blemish, scoreless. It's not in the ballpark. It's just outside of McCovey Cove. Look at the seal is hammering the Panda, and the Shark. The Shark can't stay on the paddleboard. Very nice, nicely done.
And look at the Panda.
Panda's a little slimmer out there on the paddleboard. Marlins go to work on Lincecum here.
Paddleboarding will do that.
Jones and Saltalamacchia. And this looked like vintage Tim Lincecum in the first inning. He struck out Yelich and Stanton. We got Dietrich on a ground ball to Hicks. McGee, a big night last night.
Well, one of the most unique deliveries, and you have to, as a hitter, make sure you just try to pick up the ball and not get mesmerized by that bend, by the long stride. That the 5'11", 170-pound, 170 might be stretching it too for Lincecum.
Of course, out of Seattle, and a terrific pitcher at the University of Washington. Many scouts stayed away from him. He was the 10th overall pick, and probably 8 or 9 teams regret not taking him. They didn't feel with his body size that he could hold up mechanically. Of course, he won 2 Cy Young Awards, 2008, 2009. Was a big part of the Giants' 2010 World Series in the starting rotation, and then out of the bullpen in 2012. He was the secret weapon for Bruce Bochy. 6 relief appearances, 18 innings.
Yeah, it's amazing, especially this year with all the Tommy John surgery. He's never had Tommy John surgery, and so many felt that, as you mentioned, he wouldn't hold up because of his size.
Now, he's not had a real great run record-wise. Last year he was 10-14. Comes into this ballgame at 3-2, but an ERA of 4.78. He's 3-2 on McGee. 2 big RBI hits last night for McGee. He's driven in 3 in the series. And the breaking ball is strike 3 called. Well, he has struck out 3 of the first 4 he's faced.
He's used all his pitches pretty well. Here's a look at the defense for the Giants. Gregor Blanco with the start in left field. Pagan in center. Pence in right. Sandoval and Crawford. Hicks and Mike Morse over on the right side. And doing the catching tonight, Hector Sanchez.
Now Garrett Jones. Jones had a nice night last night. A 3-hit night. He's got 4 hits in the series, including a home run in game 1.
This is one of those matchups you hear us talk about a hitter having a comfortable at bat against a certain pitcher. This isn't a comfortable at bat against Lincecum, mainly because of that delivery.
Four for 17, couple home runs.
It's been a great trip for Garrett Jones. What a terrific play he made last night too, over in foul territory.
That was in the 9th when Steve Cishek was struggling. Cishek missed on his first 6 pitches in the 9th, trying to save it after the Marlins got 2 in the top of the 9th. He settled down. Jones had that nice play, and Miami walked out of here with a win. Counts 2-2.
If there ever was a pitcher that you have to take Frank Menechino's approach and stay back and think up the middle and think the other way, Tim Lincecum's the guy, especially that he doesn't throw 96 anymore.
Well, he really has refined the changeup. The breaking ball is still quite sharp. And at 92, 93, the fastball is still has enough zip on it that if you're sitting off speed, he'll get it by you.
Well, and especially locating it the way he located that one. Just ran it inside a little bit.
Sanchez wants it down. And Jones punches it to center. Pagan sliding and tumbling and makes the catch. Very good center fielder out there with Angel Pagan. Two outs. You can see the Marlins with the Chevron Crazy 8 ticket offer. Visit a participating Chevron to fill up with Chevron with Techron gasoline. Bring your receipt to the ticket office for up to 60% off lower level tickets. Restrictions apply. Next Crazy 8's Wednesday is the 21st against the Phillies at 7:10. Now Saltalamacchia, who was having an awful trip until last night.
Big shift on. This is the most extreme I think we've seen the shift.
Because Sandoval, the third baseman, is way over, and there's no one to his right. Saltalamacchia last night, a 4-hit night, and he fouls that one off.
The uniqueness about his 4 hits last night, he got a couple of hits from the left side, his first 2 hits. His 3rd hit was from the right side, as was his 4th hit.
Three and one. Marcell Ozuna waits on deck. And Ozuna has hit quite well in this ballpark, though he has not started the first 2 games of the series. It's ball 4, and Saltalamacchia is aboard. And here comes Ozuna. For Ozuna, it's been a tough trip. 4 for 21. And a tough stretch, which has dropped his average into the 250s.
Still pretty productive with the 6 home runs and 22 RBIs.
4 games here at AT&T. 6 for 14. A couple doubles and a homer. Had a nice series here last year, and the Marlins have played quite well here. They've won 10 of the last 12 in this ballpark. 429 with those 14 at bats. And maybe a few days off for Ozuna. Get him back going. Toyota Trends. Since July 2010, the Marlins 11-2. By far the best. And you notice in that Toyota Trend there weren't many National League West teams. That's because the Giants have not lost a season series against a National League West opponent since 2010. See, where are the teams from the West?
Yeah, you have the East and the Central represented.
The Giants have dominated everybody in the West the last few years. Lincecum misses, and it's 3-1. Whether it's Dodgers, Rockies, Padres, or Diamondbacks.
When we were in L.A. just recently, the Giants had just left. They had taken 3 out of 4 4-game series.
Three-1 misses. And Miami now with runners first and second. Here comes Echeverria. Let's scout Tim Lincecum. Hut, that's you.
Yeah, we've given you a little insight on him. The fastball, we've seen it range in that area. He has the big curveball. The changeup's been an effective pitch for him so far. But a guy who won back-to-back Cy Youngs. He's been an all-star 4 times. And he's also one of 4 Giant pitchers to have won 10 or more games 6 straight years. And he's in some pretty good company. Juan Marichal, Gaylord Perry, and we'll throw in Kirk Reeder. Remember him, the left-hander?
Yes, I do, though. I remember Ron Bryant better than Kirk Reeder. Or at least reading of Ron Bryant. Here's the pitch, and it's outside to Echeverria. Echeverria 0 for 6 in this series. He did drive in a run last night on a nice at-bat with a sacrifice fly. He drew a key walk in the 8th inning as well. Lincecum, a pair of walks. He's behind 1-0. Breaking ball into right field, base hit. Saltalamacchia, they're going to send him. Pence's throw is up the line. He is safe. He got by the tag. Terrific play by Saltalamacchia. With a pitcher coming up, Brett Butler gambled, and he won.
Yeah, there are a lot of situations, depending on the outs, depending on who's coming up, that you might not send Saltalamacchia. Doesn't run that well. You've got Pence, who has a good arm, usually pretty accurate. The throw short hop Sanchez. He goes up to get it, but look at the slide by Saltalamacchia. Just executed perfectly. To come around and touch the plate with his hand. And there's Butler. He's got him going all the way.
Ball in the dirt, and it kicks away, and both runners will move up. And it's a wild pitch. Dave Righetti, Giants pitching coach, is out because all of a sudden Lincecum is wild and vulnerable. Miami has a run. And he was untouchable, Tommy. The first 4 hitters, he struck out 3 of them.
Well, he got the first 2 outs in this inning. And then the back-to-back walks have hurt him.
Look at AJ. Now you have to know AJ's at the top of that list. Active leaders in wild pitches. Kohler at the plate. And obviously Kohler's hopeful that Lincecum can't find the strike zone. Marlins would love to get Yelich up here in this inning. Kohler goes after a fastball, and it's 1-1. Marlins will see A.J. Burnett on Tuesday night. It's a good breaking ball for a strike. It's 1-2. And down goes Kohler. Ball hits the dirt. Sanchez throws him out. Miami's on the board, though. Adeiny Hechavarria drives in Jared Saltalamacchia. Top, still lots of sunshine in San Francisco tonight. We invite you to tweet your photo using the hashtag FLFanPhoto. It's a chance to have it shown in an upcoming broadcast, and it's brought to you by AT&T. Lots of different get-ups here in San Francisco. You've got Panda caps. You've got a lot of Giants gear, orange and black. It is San Francisco. In fact, tomorrow is one of the more creative races in across America. The Beta Breakers races tomorrow.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of research. I initially thought that was a marathon, but it's only about 7 miles.
No, because there's a lot of racers will be in costume.
Yeah, it's about a 7-mile race.
It would be hard.
Some of the costumes wouldn't hold up for 26 miles.
Well, the people in the costumes wouldn't hold up. Hector Sanchez, Gregor Blanco, and Brandon Hicks against Kohler, who delivers a strike.
so far just early on, watching Tom Kohler, much better rhythm, much better command than that ball game in Los Angeles against the Dodgers.
Sanchez, who actually got his first career start at first base the other day, has been swinging it well. A .342 clip over his last 38 at bats. And it gives the Giants an opportunity to move Buster Posey. If they did some of that last year, they could do that again. Move Posey to first, give him the day off from catching, trying to keep him fresh.
Yeah, with guys like Mike Morse, Sanchez, Posey, a lot of moving parts for Bruce Bochy, who's working, as we mentioned last night, working with a four-man bench. He's got an extra man in his bullpen.
Well, last night he started Yusmeiro Petit. Tonight, Tim Lincecum. Tomorrow, Ryan Vogelsong. It's Jacob Turner who takes on Vogelsong. 4:05 start tomorrow. We've got it for you on Fox Sports Florida before the Marlins come home for Tuesday night's homestand opener against the Phillies. High pop, and it's out of play. The Marlins have a decision to make with their rotation when they return home against the Phillies. Anthony DeSclafani, who was terrific at Dodger Stadium, it would be his turn, though there is a day off leading into that series.
You know, I think with the way Mike Redmond has handled things and the way the organization has, anytime you can get that extra day for any of the pitchers, they'll do that. And nothing has been official, but I would think that with the job that DeSclafani did in Los Angeles, that we could see him on the mound Tuesday night against the Phillies.
Go Gator. There'll be a lot of that on Tuesday if he does get the call.
Email Twitter Tuesday. And you know how they like that up in Gainesville.
Yes, I know. We've seen the demographics. Here's the 2-2. Blanco on deck. Sanchez at the plate. And he lost him. Well, he got in front, but a leadoff walk opens the bottom of the second. We check in with Allison Williams. Hey, Doug?
Well, Rich, Kohler looking to bounce back after that tough outing in L.A. But if there's one thing we know about Tom Kohler, it's that he is not afraid to go out there and fight. The fact that he is in the major leagues and a starter is just a testimony to the odds he's had to overcome. Put it in perspective. He was a 538th pick in the 2008 draft. Of the 110 selected before him, 66 made it to the big show. That's about 60%. Of the 428 taken after that, which includes Kohler, just 75 of those guys made it to Major League Baseball. That's about 17.5%. So not very good odds there for Kohler. Also, look at where he went to school, Stony Brook. Since 1973, 19 players have been drafted out of Stony Brook. Just 2 of them, including Tom Kohler, have made it to the big leagues. The other one is Joe Nathan. So he has had a long road to get to where he is today, and he'll be the first to tell you that not getting the attention he thought he maybe would after high school, when he garnered a lot of attention from scouts and then didn't end up getting drafted, being taken so late in the draft, has led him to approach this game with a bit of a chip on his shoulder.
And Allison, he said openly that chip not only got him here, but is keeping him here right now. Sanchez at first, Blanco at the plate. 0-2 coming. Pop up. Saltalamacchia over, and he can't get it. Just off his glove, just off the camera, and the count stays at 0-2.
Well, it's not an easy play when you have all that catcher's gear on and you try to go over there, a little railing, you've got the camera. And Salty up close and personal with a one-on-one interview with the camera.
That is the Giants camera. Comcast Bay Area. And this time Kohler goes right after Blanco and strikes him out. So the Brandons are coming up, Hicks and Crawford. If you're watching the telecast from home, get on the internet, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, keep you up to date with all the stats, scores, and latest news surrounding your favorite Florida teams. Now Hicks, who is enjoying a nice run with the Giants, especially in the power department. 7 homers, 4 doubles. He swings and misses. The 28-year-old who has banged around a lot of different organizations. The Braves, the Athletics, AAA with the Mets last year. As Marco Scutaro continues to mend, Hicks has been able to get a lot of time at second base.
And it could be a while for Scutaro to mend. But the one thing about Hicks, it's been kind of an all or nothing. He's had a lot of extra base hits, a lot of strikeouts.
To right, and it's deep, and it's off the top of the wall. Stanton has it. Sanchez held at third. Very close to getting out of here.
Sometimes as an outfielder, you're not exactly sure how this ball's going to carom. Stanton happens to be at the right place at the right time and plays a nice carom to keep Sanchez from scoring. We talked about Hicks. 13 of his 23 hits have been for extra bases.
And he has another one there, his 5th double. Now Crawford in the 8th spot. And with 1 out, you've got Lincecum on deck. And Kohler going after Crawford. Marlins are going to... Kohler looks a little confused. I think the Marlins are going to...
I think they want to appeal at first base.
Appeal first base. And they can't do this. Dietrich can't be in foul territory at the start of the play. He has to be inside the diamond. So now Kohler's going to get back up.
Now they'll try it again.
Kohler steps off. There's the appeal. And he's safe. It's the trail umpire's call as to whether the runner tagged the base. And you know what? This is a reviewable play. You can challenge this. Mike Redmond is out. And he's going to talk to the first base umpire, Kerwin Danley. And Danley says, don't talk to me. I didn't have the call. If you're the home plate umpire, I don't know how you could see that. Now on a replay, I don't know if that's definitive evidence or not.
Yeah, he could have brushed it with that one side, but he certainly didn't touch the bag the way you would want a runner to touch the bag.
The Marlins, I think, are challenging this. Yep, they are going to challenge this.
This will be an interesting one because you're right. I don't know if it's definitive and if it would be overturned.
Remember, the umpiring group in New York in the command center has more than the look that we just had. They have the Giants feed. They have the Marlins feed.
The one guy right now who's panicking a little bit is Brandon Hicks. because he's watching that ball. The left foot goes over the back.
I don't know.
Boy, by that look, it looks like he misses it.
It does. From that look, you put the two looks together, and it looks like he missed it.
And it's interesting, Roberto Kelly, the first base coach, they're both looking at the ball. So Kelly wasn't looking to see if Hicks touched or didn't touch the bag either.
So the challenge is whether he touched first base or not. If he missed it, then that appeal will be successful and he'll be out. If they don't have enough video evidence to overturn, the call will stand and the Giants will have second and third. Here's another look. Our first look was from the other side. Left foot.
Boy, you can see dirt come up on the other side of the base.
Yep.
From that look, it appears he did not touch it.
You know, the one thing is his foot comes across the bag. If he touches the bag, the shoe should move.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
It does not move. But again, it has to be definitive. And this is one of the things that Mike Redmond was talking about the other day as the Marlins watch the replays in their clubhouse. They look for everything. On every hit, they look to see if a runner touches a base. Gary Cederstrom and Kerwin Danley, who...
The home plate umpire, Gary Cederstrom, is the crew chief.
Right, and it was his call because he's the trail umpire.
But keep in mind, he's on the other side of the bag making this call. And also look at the way the foot turns. It doesn't turn into the bag. It turns the other way. I sound like an attorney.
Well, Hicks is hopeful that the outcome is in his favor. It looks like the umpires have reached in New York a decision. Now we get the verdict. He's out. He missed it. Terrific work by Pat Shine.
Great job in the clubhouse, in the video room by Pat Shine, by Mike Redmond to go out and challenge.
And the Marlins will keep a challenge, and Hicks is out. Staying at third base is Sanchez. And now the Marlins, with 2 outs, can walk Crawford and pitch to Lincecum if they choose. That's how big this play is.
That's a huge call. Now you also have to determine the scoring play on that. Because he's out at first, he did not reach first base, so it wouldn't be a base hit, would it?
That's above my pay grade. Are you surprised that the Marlins are pitching to Crawford, or are they just trying to get him to offer?
I think they're trying that, but if you're going to do that, sometimes you get yourself in trouble. Just like that.
Into center field. Ozuna goes back
worked.
in the sun. He makes the catch. And wow, do the Marlins with a challenge. And then by pitching to Crawford, really dodge one here in San Francisco. talking about with the Beta Breakers race.
Yeah, now I know what you mean, Rich.
Those are the costumes.
Now I will get up early and watch the race.
Those are the costumes you're going to see. Well, the Marlins with I think, at least I haven't seen a highlight of it, I think that may be the first challenge of a runner touching the base that I've seen this year. Obviously with the Marlins, I haven't seen another one in baseball. Of course, I don't watch every game, but
I haven't heard or read about it, which I think we would have.
The definitive looks, according to New York, were the two looks that the Marlins telecast had. Center field and low first.
Here's the other ironic thing about that for Brandon Hicks. The put out, he does not get a base hit. Here's the definitive look. He crosses the bag, the foot's turning away from the bag. He does not get a base hit, and the put out goes 1-3.
Those were the two looks that New York used to overturn the call. And so Yelich is up. It's a 1-0 Marlins lead. And a pretty good breaking ball there by Lincecum as he grimaces and looks into his dugout. And it's out. So that pitch was out. And that's the same spot.
It's been kind of an up and down crazy year for Lincecum. He's had 8 starts. Only 4 of his 8 starts he's gone 6 or more innings. So he's either been pretty decent or not so good.
Lincecum with a breaking ball strikes out Yelich. So he has struck out Yelich twice. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins.
So hats off to our camera crew, our production guys, for helping out the cause in New York.
Well, it's purely accidental. Just like the umpires in New York, both video rooms, Pat Shine for the Marlins and whomever the Giants have in theirs, they have the same looks and the same angles that New York has. So Pat Shine has both telecasts. The Giants have both telecasts. And so the umpires as well in New York have both telecasts. Here is Stanton now. And as we've talked about, that's something that in each runway or clubhouse or wherever that little video room is located. Another strike to Stanton. It's 0-2. That's something that everyone's watching for now. Do runners touch bases? Was the tag on the leg? Was it up high?
One thing when you watch Lincecum in his delivery, after he delivers the pitch, he violently falls off toward the first base side.
Stanton drives one right center field. That ball's deep and into the gap, triples alley. Let's see if Stanton can leg it out. On his way to third, relay throw comes in there with a triple. That is one of the great spots for triples in all of Major League Baseball here in San Francisco.
You know, the Marlins kind of have one. There's a hanging pitch up in the eyes of Giancarlo. The Marlins kind of have that area in right center as well. For Stanton, his first triple of the year, but a blast into that little area out there, 421 into that corner. No hesitation by Giancarlo. Good straight on slide.
Now McGee with Stanton at third base.
We've grown to assume Casey McGee will just get a base hit in these situations because of the way he's hit. He's hit .429 this year with runners in scoring position.
And of course, last night he banged out a couple of big hits. That one pulled foul. McGee drove in a run in the 5th and then drove in the first run in the 2-run 9th as Miami took a 7-5 lead.
Casey McGee is 6th in the National League in RBIs.
In the dirt, and it actually pops up and hits McGee. And remember, Lincecum has thrown a wild pitch, and Stanton is just 90 feet away.
He gets in trouble with that wild pitch, mainly with that splitter.
He cannot be much like Tim Hudson, also on this starting staff. He cannot be an easy guy to catch. Fastball fouled out of play. One and two. Up the middle, Crawford to first in time. And the Marlins strand Stanton at third. Bottom of the third. 1-0 Fish. Into AT&T Park. The Philly series is a 3-game series. It wraps up on Thursday the 22nd. And it's a 12:40 start. Head to your local Subway restaurant, get a voucher for a $5 ticket. And seniors 55 and older can receive free tickets on Seniors Free Ticket Thursdays, presented by Wellmax Medical Center. Go to Marlins.com today. Well, it's amazing how this game works. In game 1 of the series, there was a key play in which Hunter Pence kicked the ball while running down the first baseline. He was obviously in fair territory in looking at the replays, but it was called a foul ball.
A non-reviewable play.
Because the play wasn't reviewable. Fair foul on the infield is not reviewable. It is in the outfield. Last night, the Marlins had a play in right field. Giancarlo Stanton on a fly ball, dropped it as he went into his glove, and it was called on the field no catch. The Marlins challenged. They overturned that call and said it was a catch. And the Marlins win a huge challenge here as Lincecum goes down. This was the Pence play, and this was on Thursday night. The umpires said foul ball.
Yeah, and it hit that left foot and kicked it in the other direction. He should have been out, but he wasn't. He went back and he got a base hit. Here's last night as Giancarlo's transferring the ball. And remember early in the year when that call, when they were making that call, that would have been a no catch.
So the Marlins bitter about the umpires not calling it properly on Thursday. They flat out missed the call, and they unfortunately were unable to review it. Marlins were unable to challenge it. That's just the way it is. There was a call today in the Atlanta Braves game. Aaron Harang on a bunt, and it turned into a double play. The catcher caught the ball, tagged Harang, and got the runner going to third. And the Braves felt that the ball was foul. The umpires called it a fair ball, and it's not reviewable. And Freddie Gonzalez was tossed from the ball game. It was one of those quick Yadier Molina catch it, tag you, get the guy at third.
Now you see it, now you don't.
Pagan with a count 1-2. Kohler, meanwhile, sitting at 41 pitches.
So many of those calls through Major League Baseball. Obviously, Joe Torre, we talk about, has been involved. Tony La Russa was involved, but no longer will Tony La Russa be involved in those because he's accepted a job with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He'll be overseeing their baseball operations.
McGee, tough pick and a quick throw. Nice play to get Pagan. Yeah, Kevin Towers, their general manager, will answer to La Russa. And so a bold move by the Diamondbacks to bring in La Russa.
And of course the Diamondbacks come into play today 16-28. Tony La Russa will answer to Derek Hall, their president. But an interesting move if you're in the Diamondbacks organization, if you're Kevin Towers, if you're Kirk Gibson, you're going to have to be on your toes.
Hunter Pence has flied out. That's a fair ball. Stan has to come over to get it. Pence thinking about three, round second, on his way to third, and he's in there with a triple.
Stanton playing way off the line, had a long way to go to get to that ball that hit that little fence that juts out. So by the time he got there, Pence, who runs well, had himself a triple.
How do you defend Hunter Pence?
You can't. I don't know how you defend him. I don't know how you pitch to him. And you see how long it takes in because he's all the way over in right center. And so Pence didn't even have to slide at third base. Yeah, he'll do that once in a while. He'll get a pitch on the inner part of the plate and pull it. Yeah, he's a hard guy to defend. Hunter Pence with a 5-game hitting streak has 11 hits in his last 21 at bats now.
And Sandoval is up. Sandoval's hot. He's hit in 8 straight, has a dozen hits in those 8 games, an infield hit back in the first. The Giants have a hit in each inning. And Kohler, who seemingly finds himself in trouble and then finds his way out of trouble, although that wasn't the case at Dodger Stadium. He found himself in plenty of trouble, and by the time he arrived in the fourth inning, he was over 100 pitches.
When you give up 6 hits and walk 5 in 3 2/3, it's hard to dig yourself out of trouble.
Sandoval fouls it back.
Yeah, it's good fastball tonight too. He's rearing back. He's using it. That last one, 95 miles an hour.
Two balls, 2 strikes.
Tom Koehler trying to win for the first time on the road this year, as many of the Marlins pitchers. He's pitched so well at home, but he's 0-3 away from Marlins Park.
Pence at third, 2-2. Sandoval swung at a pitch that almost hit him, and Koehler strikes him out, and the Giants leave Pence at third.
Hunter.
Marlins on top of the Giants in the fourth in San Francisco. Tim Lincecum gets Garrett Jones, Jared Saltalamacchia, and Marcell Ozuna. And Jones, who lined a shot into center field that Angel Pagan made a tumbling catch on, continues to swing the bat well on this road trip.
Garrett Jones, one of the few hitters that has a better batting average on the road. Came into the game 273 on the road, 250 at home.
Bouncer, Morse flips it, and Lincecum is there. That's a play that for Morse is not a polished product. That's he's not a real skilled or experienced first baseman.
Yeah, you get an Adam LaRoche out there, and he's going to pick that ball and just take it himself and get the out. But Morse knows that he has an athletic pitcher out there, and Lincecum, that always helps. So he just gave him the flip. What do you think, Lincecum mustache or Lincecum long hair? Which one did you go for?
I'd go with the long hair.
Yeah, I think I'd take that over the mustache.
I would take his career and his earnings and his Golden Spikes Award.
Yeah.
And his 4-time All-Star selections, his 2 World Championships.
What'd you mention? $17 million this year, $18 million next year.
Very popular player, as you would expect. This is his 8th year in the Giants rotation. As you pointed out, he's been durable. He's pitched a lot of innings.
He's had 6 straight years of 30 or more starts. That's all you can ask of a starting pitcher.
He's won 92 games. An ERA right at 3.50. And this is 230th big league game. End of the bat against the shift. Pablo is around it. Throws on the run. Safe. Saltalamacchia beat it. That was a race between two large objects. Sandoval in one direction. Saltalamacchia in the other direction.
That's why a lot of times when teams shift this way, they'll leave the shortstop over there. You think about Brandon Crawford. If he was there, he might have made that play, might have had a better chance. But this way, you put it on a third baseman to make a play in the hole the way a shortstop usually does. So Salty will take it.
I don't know that Salty touched first base. I mean, seriously. The Giants did not come out to challenge. And Ozuna hits one into right. Pence is there. Obviously, the stakes were a lot higher. It would have been second and third had the Marlins challenge not been upheld. But as Saltalamacchia crossed first, it almost looked like he didn't touch the bag.
Too late now.
It is. Well, you've got to get out before the next pitch is thrown.
So Salty with 4 hits last night, has a walk, an infield single tonight.
Here's another look. Let's see if Saltalamacchia got the bag.
Is that right foot? Yeah, he got the front side. Plus, he kind of scuffed it over the top of the bag, too. Yeah, there you go.
Just the toe. And you can see the shoe moved.
That's right. Hicks's shoe didn't move.
Echeverria, a little dribbler to third. Sandoval across the diamond in time to get the out. 1-0 Miami. Sports Florida is brought to you by Acura and your local Acura dealer. By Bluebell Ice Cream. And by South Florida Volkswagen dealers. Save thousands during Volkswagen's first really big sale. San Francisco. The Golden Gates. Very nice. Crack staff apparently spent a lot of time in and around the city over the last couple of days. Speaking of that, let's check in with Allison Williams. A-Dub.
Well, Rich, a wise man once said, beer needs baseball and baseball needs beer. It has always been thus. I believe it was Peter Richmond that said that. And the Giants certainly combined the two with their 4th annual Beer Fest that took place on Seal Plaza, just behind center field here right outside of AT&T Park. And patrons could sample several local breweries from Northern California, hang out for a couple hours, live music, food, all available right outside Giants game here. And then, of course, included was a couple of tickets to the Marlins and Giants game. So a lot of fun stuff going on around San Francisco this weekend, it seems like, between the race tomorrow. You've got Beer Fest here tonight. A lot going on. And then the giveaway tonight, too. People were lined up well before the game to get their fedoras that were given away tonight. So a lot of fun stuff taking place at AT&T Park.
Hey, Allison, turn around and smack that kid, will you?
I'd kind of like to.
You've got our permission.
It's more than a photo bomb.
It's been going on for a while now.
They're violating your space there. Yeah. Maybe they went to beer.
They're all excited.
Maybe they snuck into Beer Fest.
You didn't get a baseball, but you got on TV, so you guys can settle down now, right? It's Miami TV, but it's still cool, right?
More swings and misses. Allison can handle herself, Tommy.
Yes, she can. Yes, she can. 5 strikeouts now for Tom Kohler. He's gotten a couple of strikeouts with that fastball. That time he used a good slider to get a hot hitter, Michael Morse.
Been a well-pitched game between Kohler and Tim Lincecum.
Yeah, Allison had a nice tour of San Francisco with A.J. Ramos. They hit the cable car. They went everywhere but the Buena Vista to have a little Irish coffee. Could have gone there.
Did they go to Lefty O'Doul's?
I don't think they went to Lefty's. They didn't have time to take the Alcatraz tour, which is just one of the best ever. But they looked at Alcatraz.
How about Ghirardelli Square?
I think they were there, yeah.
Change up and a good one from Kohler. Hey, Dub, what was your favorite stop in the city?
Oh, man. I like the seals because I'm a dork like that and I love animals and they're cool to watch.
Was that down at Pier 39?
Yep, that was at Pier 39. But we had so much fun picking out the socks.
That's into left field. The base hit. Yelich picks it up. Hector Sanchez has a hit. You're going to have to explain that for fans that did not get a chance to see Marlins live.
Well, this is our ride on the cable car. Here's the thing. A.J. Ramos has been to San Francisco before. He had seen nothing. So we did the cable car. We checked out Lombard Street. We walked around Pier 39, got some mini donuts, which were fabulous, by the way. And then we headed over to the sock market. As soon as we walked by, A.J. bolted in. He's like, whoa, I got to check this out. Then we went and saw the Golden Gate Bridge, which he also had never seen, and checked out the seals for a little bit, which he compared to some of his teammates, including Henderson Alvarez, because they're just out there yelling and running into each other. The socks, though, were purchased for all of his bullpen mates. So he picked out different, unique, eclectic socks for each one of the guys. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were very popular. Cishek got a pair of those. Carter Capps had Rainbow Dash, My Little Pony socks. Mike Dunn, of course, camo. Kevin Slowey had Batman socks complete with the yellow cape. And then Brad Hand had the Robin set. Captain America went to Randy Wolf. So everybody got a different pair of socks to kind of go with their personality. I think AJ collected about 5 or 6 pairs just for himself. He dropped some coin at the sock store, you guys.
Very nice. Gregor Blanco is up right now. Hector Sanchez at first. 1-1 pitch coming. And it's 2-1. There's Steve Cishek and his Mutant Ninja Turtle socks.
So obviously, according to Major League rules, you can't wear those during games, but the guys had them under their pant legs during batting practice. They did wear them during BP.
Driving to right center. Stan's been playing in that gap, and he makes the catch. The Marlins have planted Stanton right smack dab in the middle of Triple's alley throughout this series. And it's paid off in a ball like this. He's had to go a ways for balls on the line, but he's run a lot of balls down.
He actually runs into near straightaway center field. So he's given, and what he's done this series, he's staying there right now for the next batter, for Brandon Hicks. So there's all kinds of room down that right field area. So when you do that, you certainly have to pitch accordingly.
Well, here's Hicks. And Hicks hit a ball that Stanton had to go a ways for. He, remember, doubled off the top of the wall in right field. Kohler with a breaking ball gets a strike. It's 1-1. In fact, both extra base hits for the Giants have been down the right field line. Pence's triple and Hicks's double. Slow tapper. McGee cuts across, makes the play, and Tom Kohler looks sharp through 4 innings in San Francisco. Miami has a 1-0 lead. With all the pennants in Giants history dating back to the New York Giant days. Wind is blowing out at about 15-20 miles an hour. Time now for the Coors Banquet timeless moment. College baseball, 1939. Princeton beat Columbia in the first televised baseball game. Bill Stern was in the National Radio Hall of Fame. Called the action. Did you know that, Hut?
I did not know that.
Tim Lincecum facing Tom Kohler, Christian Yelich, Derek Dietrich for Miami here in the 5th. And a strike. It's 1-1. If you're just joining us, the Marlins got a run in the 2nd. Danny Echeverria with an RBI single to right on a terrific slide by Jared Saltalamacchia. He got around the tag of Hector Sanchez. The Marlins had a, I don't know if you can call it dramatic because it took about 3 minutes on the review, but a challenge that turned the 2nd inning around for him. And last inning I was talking about extra bases, and I referred to Brandon Hicks' ball off the top of the wall as a triple, or as a double, excuse me. And the Marlins appealed that he missed first base. The umpire said he touched it. It's a reviewable and challengeable play, and Mike Redmond challenged it, and the umpiring group back in New York said that he missed it, and so there was no base hit for Hicks. And instead of 2nd and 3rd and 1 out with Crawford up, it was runner at 3rd with 2 outs and Crawford up, and he had a fly ball out to end the inning. 2-2. Kohler putting up quite a fight against Lincecum, who struck him out back in the second. And a good take on a breaking ball in the dirt.
Yeah, he's making him throw a lot of pitches. Anytime a pitcher can do that to his opposing pitcher, just puts a little pressure on him, makes him work a little more.
Fastball, and Kohler hanging in there right now. Lincecum, 4 innings, 3 hits. The run is earned. 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Kohler has 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. And he also has given up just 3 hits. And Tom Kohler walks.
Great job. So 3rd walk of the game issued by Lincecum, who's done just about everything in a Giant uniform. He threw a no-hitter last year against the Padres.
Bruce Bochy watching. Brett Butler giving the signs to Yelich, who has struck out twice. You've got Kohler at first. Yelich takes ball 1.
First time for Christian Yelich in his career that he scored 4 runs in a game. Of course, he hit the leadoff home run. The last Marlin to hit a leadoff home run was Justin Ruggiano.
This also Yelich's first meeting with Tim Lincecum.
So far, it hasn't been a good one.
The ball and a strike. That game in Arizona is turning into a wild one. It's only in the 6th, and Arizona's lead is now 9-7 over the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw, an inning and 2/3, 7 runs, 6 hits.
Wow. That's after a terrific start by Zach Greinke last night.
It's 1-2.
Right now, Christian Yelich really struggling with that changeup. Lincecum's throwing him some really good ones, and he has had trouble picking it up.
In the hole, Crawford out there. Hicks relay out there. It's a nice double play because Yelich runs well.
Well, Yelich did the right thing. He did a good job actually hitting this ball, trying to go the other way, but a pick by Crawford, strong throw by Brandon Hicks, and that is a terrific double play because of the way Yelich gets up the line. So the Brandons did the job on that double play.
Here is Dietrich now. Dietrich takes down low. He's bounced to the right side twice. Yasiel Puig has homered for the Dodgers, his 9th. Carl Crawford is homered as well. Crawford's was a 3-run shot.
Puig had 3 hits and a home run last night, so he continues to be hot.
Padres are beating the Rockies in Colorado 6-3. That's in the bottom of the 6th. Marlins and Giants tomorrow. Jacob Turner gets the start. Allison Williams, Preston Wilson start it. A bumpy road, certainly. Turner's still looking for his first career road win. And it's tomorrow at 3:30. Brought to you by your South Florida Honda dealers. Dietrich with the count, 2-2. We told you early that these are two of the best offensive teams in the National League. So you would expect this isn't going to be a 1-0 game all night.
Well, you have two pitchers really throwing well. Lincecum keeping a lot of the Marlins off balance, and Tom Koehler with good stuff. Good slider, a live fastball, locating it well.
Jam shot, and he's going to dump it into left field for a base hit. Dietrich a strong turn. Giants have a good outfield. Blanco's very good in left, Pagan in center, Pence in right. This is a good defensive team. Dietrich a 2-out hit.
A lot of the opportunities the Marlins have given themselves have been with 2 out. That's a great turn, and it's something that we point out often. The Marlins hitters, when they get that base hit, we've seen some really good turns, some aggressive turns, always thinking maybe you're going to take that extra base, especially if there's a bobble in the outfield. And by Dietrich getting that base hit, it gets Stanton to the plate.
Stanton tripled to right center and struck out. I think if Sanchez does a little better job of handling that pitch, he may have gotten it as a called strike.
Yeah, you see where it is on Fox Tracks.
High pop up on a windy night. Sanchez is going to get to the rail just in case. The ball actually does come back and land right near the dugout.
Well, with the wind blowing out the way it is, anything that's 1 or 2 rows back may come back. So the infielders have to give it a shot.
It's Fedora night here tonight. A giveaway for the adults. Sandoval knocks it down and gets the out at second on a hard hit ball by Stanton. Halfway through in San Francisco, still 1-0 Fish. U-verse rewinds. And we rewind it back to last year. Look at the big salad. He neatly trimmed here, Tommy Hutton.
Well, it was early in that Big Salad career. It's his first major league win. We talked about the outing he had. 7 innings, gave up just 3 hits, only 1 run to the Giants. So a good place for him to pitch.
First major league win and a beer bat.
Who was that from? Chad Qualls, wasn't it?
I forgot Preston Wilson was on the trip there. Preston had more to lose in terms of outfit than Craig did at that point.
It's an upgrade for Craig.
Crawford, Lincecum, Pagan against Kohler. Crawford in the 8th spot. Flied to center, and that finished the 2nd inning. That came with Sanchez at 3rd base.
It's amazing. You see the pitch count for Tom Kohler. 68 pitches. 66 pitches. What did he have? 103 pitches in 3 2/3 innings in Los Angeles. So just a nice turnaround and good to see. It tells you that he put in some work in between. And he's really just challenging these Giants hitters.
Breaking ball. Shallow. Yelich is there. Good closing speed from Yelich in left field. Marlins next homestand has the Phillies, then the Brewers. Fireworks Friday. On Friday the 23rd at 7:10, you can celebrate Teachers Appreciation Night at the ballpark. Stay in your seats after the game for an incredible fireworks display presented by Lexus. Go to Marlins.com for tickets.
Got Ryan Braun coming to town, Gene Segura. How about K-Rod with 17 saves already?
Carlos Gomez, one of the more exciting players
Always
in the
exciting.
game. Lincecum, an incredible athlete. I think if you follow baseball, you know that Lincecum is one of those guys that can walk on his hands, somersaults, all of that. Very strong. Liner, good scouting report. Ozuna was in shallow left center, and Lincecum hit it right to him.
Ozuna was pretty much in left center. Stanton was almost in center. There's that line drive. Ozuna just had to come in a couple of steps.
He was playing the rover position. Now Pagan.
So again, Stanton staying well into right center.
And the Marlins have been very aggressive with their outfield shift in this ballpark.
This is probably the most aggressive shift we've seen the Marlins do this year.
To left, Yelich and Ozuna, and it's Yelich who makes the catch. Boy, a busy inning out there in left and left center. 10-pitch inning for Kohler and a 1-0 lead for Miami. Late night with the Fish, AT&T Park, San Francisco. Marlins and Giants head to the 6th inning. Well-pitched ball game, as you would expect, in a 1-0 Marlins lead. Casey McGee, Tim Lincecum. Fastball is up. Garrett Jones, Jared Saltalamacchia. And they count 1 ball and 1 strike. Miami got their run in the second. Adeiny Hechavarria, an RBI single. Fish had opportunities in the third and in the fourth.
Yeah, you think about that game last night. The Marlins got the 2 runs off the Giants bullpen.
There's a drive, left center field. That's well hit. That's going to go to the wall. On a hop, it's played there by Pagan, and McGee blasts a double to open up the 6th.
Well, we see Casey McGee stay back, and if he gets a fastball out over the plate, he'll drive it the other way. But every once in a while, if he gets that breaking ball, a pitch that he can pull, he found that gap nicely. Not a bad pitch, a curveball from Lincecum and out of the reach of Pagan. But coming into the game last night, the Giants bullpen had allowed just 6 earned runs in almost 59 innings, and the Marlins got 2 earned runs off that bullpen last night.
They'd like to get 1 earned run off of Lincecum here in the 6th. After the leadoff double by McGee, you've got Jones, who is a perfect guy to try to get him over. He naturally a pull hitter.
This is one of those in a close game, a 1-0. You just see the importance of adding on 1 more run. And if you're Garrett Jones, yes, you'd like to drive that run in, but first and foremost, you want to try to hit a ball to the right side.
You know, it's funny. The Giants and every other ball club have been shifting Jones so dramatically, much like Saltalamacchia. Here he is in a spot where consciously he's trying to pull the ball, you would expect, and yet the Giants aren't really shifted that way.
Well, Sandoval has to kind of hold his ground over there. He can't get too far off third base with the runner at second.
There's the hitch by direction for Garrett Jones. And Lincecum is pitching him outside
because he knows what Garrett Jones is thinking about.
But he's fallen behind 3-1, and there's Saltalamacchia. You've got Ozuna after Saltalamacchia. And Juan Gutierrez, who warmed up but didn't pitch last night, is up. Jones bangs it. Pagan dives and won't get it, and it gets by him, and it goes to the wall, and McGee is going to score, and Jones is around second, and Pagan is down and hurt. Jones arrives at third, and the Marlins have that run, and Garrett Jones has an RBI triple. Pagan back on his feet, holding that left shoulder.
We have seen Angel Pagan make some great catches in this series. He almost had the notion that he was going to make another one, but he just can't get to this one. Doesn't get leather on it. Lands hard on that shoulder. And Garrett Jones, who's had just a fantastic road trip, drives in the 2nd run of the game for the Marlins and ends up at third. So not only was he thinking about getting Casey McGee over to third, he just said, well, I'll just get him all the way in.
Now the Giants are still looking out. Pagan says he's fine. He says, let's go. Righetti's been on the mound chatting with Lincecum. Gutierrez is loosening as fast as he can in the Giants' pen. And now Saltalamacchia has a chance to make it 3-0. In fact, the Marlins will have a couple chances here to get a run without a hit. We'll see how the Giants play the infield. Saltalamacchia has walked and has an infield hit, and that's coming off his 4-hit night last night.
They see the infield there all the way in on the left side, about halfway on the right side. You can play a step or two back when you have a runner at third that isn't speedy. So they don't have to play all the way in on the grass. But in essence, they're playing in. And with nobody out, I would not think Jones is going on contact.
Lincecum misses up high with a breaking ball. Boy, 2 days ago, Saltalamacchia may be the last guy you wanted at the plate. Right?
He might have been the last guy he would have wanted at the plate.
And yet 2 nights later, he's probably got all the confidence in the world.
Yeah, and all of a sudden he's seeing the ball better. He walked his first time up, came in to score with a great slide.
Two and one.
Yeah, he has such a great mental outlook at this whole thing. I was talking to him today about the long offer. You know, he said you just have to put everything in increments of about 100 at bats. And you know, you have the 26 that he had where he was hitless, but all of a sudden you put that with 100 and everything's going to be all right.
Well, this is a big at bat here, and contact is what he's looking for. Lincecum with a changeup and then a curveball has been able to get a couple strikes. Breaking ball, fly ball, left center, deep enough. Jones is tagging, caught there by Blanco. Here comes Jones, and Saltalamacchia delivers, and Miami stretches the lead.
Great AB, great job, but it all goes back to that confidence factor. He went up there with that at bat, going back to last night, the game he had. Just felt good about himself. Knew he was going to get that run in from third.
And so Miami gets 2 runs here in the 6th. And here is Ozuna with 1 out. This is a ballpark, much like Marlins Park, where outfield play is at a premium. And as we've noted, the Giants have a very good defensive outfield, especially with Blanco in the ballgame and left. Pagan is still holding that shoulder out there in center, and Pence in right.
You know, it's also a ballpark, as is Marlins Park, and grabbing that shoulder still, where you have to think long and hard. Sometimes you don't have much time about diving for a ball, because if a ball gets by you, as it did with Pagan, it's going to be 3 bases. If that happens in Philadelphia or in some smaller ballparks, it's probably a double, but it's much more damaging in a big ballpark.
Ozuna lines it into the seats. It counts 1-2.
Might have gotten a few fedoras with that line drive.
That's pretty cool looking. Threw him another breaking ball and a foul ball. Mark Rippinger, the third base umpire, was right on top of it. Arizona 10, Dodgers 7. That's in the 7th. That's in Arizona, as you would expect. And Ozuna nearly tears himself in 2. Remember, Pablo Sandoval swung at a pitch that almost hit him. Watch this.
See the target of Hector Sanchez, and once that fastball up, it was up and in, and Ozuna just couldn't lay off of it. Ozuna lately is in that mode that we saw him in last year. He can go hot and cold, where he's swinging at a lot of stuff, and a lot of times it's pitches that aren't in the strike zone.
And it's ironic that as Ozuna struggles in AAA, Jake Marisnick has caught fire. Marisnick has had a terrific May.
Yeah, who got off to an awful start.
Oh, he was miserable in April, but he's hitting .354. with a couple doubles and a couple homers in the month of May, going into tonight's game at Colorado Springs. What a different environment to hit than San Francisco. Echeverria fouls it at the plate. And Danny Echeverria, an RBI hit in the second. Miami getting 2 runs here in the 6th. One, two. It's up. Giants coming off a very impressive series win over the Dodgers. Echeverria bangs it into left field for a hit.
All of a sudden in this inning, Lincecum has hung some pitches, and the Marlins have attacked those pitches. He hasn't gotten away with them.
Giants took 3 of 4 from the Dodgers in LA, and then took 2 of 3 from the Braves before Miami arrived. Of course, the Giants won game 1 on Thursday. Marlins a nice rally in the 9th inning to win last night here. Kohler busts his bat, gathered in by Hicks, and he gets the out at first. But Miami on the double by McGee, the triple by Jones, and the sac fly by Saltalamacchia stretch the lead. Bottom of the 6th, Fox Sports Supports is especially proud to recognize the Army's Gold Star Pin campaign, which honors the families of fallen service members. To learn more, visit goldstarpins.org. Tom Kohler, 5 innings, no runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. Now he does get the teeth of the Giants' order here in the 6th. Hunter Pence, Pablo Sandoval, and Michael Morse. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Allison Williams, Preston Wilson, John Stolzer, our producer Jim Holly, our critically acclaimed director, and Ken Lee, our graphics coordinator. Tim McDermott, the Marlins Live producer for both the pregame and postgame here in San Francisco. And Hunter Pence with that unique warm-up swing. Hopefully we'll have if not now, by the time the Giants get to Miami in August, video of the Hunter Pence baseball camp in which Pence will tapper out in front of the plate, and Saltalamacchia whips it to first in time to get the out.
That's an area we've seen Salty he really pounce on balls. He gets out of there quickly and then comes up with strong throws. They got to stay inside. He gets it there in a hurry to give Garrett Jones a chance to get the throw and then get out of there. That's a good job.
You can find it on the internet, Hunter Pence's baseball camp. It's a fun little video to watch. Pablo Sandoval.
Not to be confused with Domingo Ayala.
No. But that is another baseball camp as well. And Sandoval takes outside. Sandoval, an infield hit back in the first. Extended his hit streak to 8 straight.
You have to wonder if Lincecum's done for the night. His spot not close to being due up, and the bullpen's busy for the Giants.
Shallow right center. A lot of Marlins are there, and it's Ozuna who prances in and makes the catch. Ozuna was the least concerned of the 4.
That's the thing that popped into my mind. Everybody was panicking except Marcell Ozuna. Echeverria, Dietrich, Stan's going, I got no chance. And here comes Marcell. Just, I got it. I'll take care of it.
I got this. Here is Morse now as we approach 8 o'clock here in San Francisco.
Tom Koehler has gotten a couple of real good hitters quickly. Pence and Sandoval.
Two 2-0 to Morse, who has struck out twice. The Mets beat the Nationals 5-2. Bartolo Colon beat Gio Gonzalez in that one.
Another rough go for Gio in that game.
Juan Lagares, his second home run for the Mets. Cardinals beat the Braves 4-1. Atlanta's record after coming through San Francisco has dipped. The Nationals record with that loss, they're at 22-20. The Braves are at 22-19. The Phillies win today. They're at 18-22. They clobbered Cincinnati 12-1.
And a win for the Marlins tonight. They could go to 23-21.
Well, somebody must have had a big day for the Phillies. And
Dominic Brown.
Yep, 5 RBIs for Dominic Brown. A 2-out walk to Morse. Here comes Sanchez.
But also a good outing from Cole Hamels for the Phillies. Do the Athletics ever lose?
No.
Oakland another win today in Cleveland 6-2.
Oakland is now 27-16. Is that best in the American League?
Nice ball game from Josh Donaldson.
Well, Detroit hasn't played as many games. That's into right field. That's a base hit off the bat of Sanchez. Stanton picks it up. Giants are set up at the corners with Gregor Blanco coming up.
This is where you really need to stop it. Tom Koehler has to make some good pitches to Blanco.
Really?
He set things up with this 2-out walk to Morse. Then the base hit by Sanchez. Hector Sanchez with 2 hits tonight. He's walked. He's 2 for 2. Again, a long way for Stanton to go, but Sanchez doesn't run well, so he just gets the single.
You surprised that Miami was holding Morse at first?
Yeah. Yeah, Morse isn't going anywhere, especially in a 3-0 game. And actually, neither is Sanchez. I'm surprised they're holding Sanchez, too.
Blanco swings and misses. Blanco's 0 for 2. His bat has yet to get going this year. 7 for 47 overall. That's a $149.
Part of it is because of the way they're positioning Stanton. They're not expecting any of the Giants to pull a ball on the ground in that hole.
Good sharp breaking ball. Kohler trying to pitch out of this. At the corners. 2 outs. Bottom 6. His ball club has given him 3 runs here tonight in San Francisco. Brewers lost 3-0. Their record is at 27-16. The Tigers' record is 26-12. They've had a ton of rainouts and off days. So percentage-wise, Detroit has a better record than Oakland, even though Oakland has more wins. Swing and a miss. Kohler gets a big strikeout, and the Giants leave 2 in the 6th. Tom Kohler, 6 innings of shutout ball. Late night with a fish. Tyler Colvin in left field. Double switch for Bruce Bochy as Tim Lincecum's night has come to a close after 6 innings. 7 hits and 3 runs.
So David Huff last night for an inning. He came on to pitch the 6th inning. Gave up a couple of hits, but no runs. So with back-to-back lefties, he'll deal with Yelich and Dietrich first off.
Yelich an 0 for 3 tonight. The damage for the Marlins been in the middle of the order and down near the bottom of the order. Last night, the Giants were able to trot out the A team as far as the bullpen goes. And hello to the Gecko up late tonight. The Geico quote of the day: hitters have got to eat too.
I like that from Affeldt.
They did some good situational hitting, and sometimes you have to be okay with that. Jeremy Affeldt.
Spoken like a true veteran and tipping his cap to the Marlins offense.
Marlins saw Gene Machi, who's had an incredible year. Affeldt, the stylish and difficult to hit lefty. Santiago Casilla and Javier Lopez. That's the A team as far as the Giants pen. That's hit well to left. And Colvin, who just came in, makes the catch shy of the track. So an out here in the 7th. Here comes Dietrich.
You know, Bruce Bochy, we've talked about it playing with just 4 bench players. When I read this today, I was thinking, well, maybe Bochy could use a pinch hitter. 55-year-old Julio Franco is going to be a player coach in the Independent League for the Fort Worth Cats. So Julio Franco is still playing.
I believe we saw Julio Franco set history at Sun Life Stadium as the oldest Major League player to hit a triple.
Might have been hitting a home run, too.
41,619. That's a 267th consecutive sellout. And it will be sold out tomorrow as well. So that's past the Phillies streak. Still way shy. The Red Sox streak was up in the mid to upper 700s.
It'll be sold out and congested because you were talking about the Beta Breakers race tomorrow. I want to say 60,000 runners. I heard something in that area. It begins right near here where AT&T Park is.
And that's early in the morning. I think 7 or 8 a.m. Dietrich to left. And Colvin makes the catch. 2 fly ball outs for David Huff. A week from tonight, Marlins and Brewers on a Saturday spectacular. It's a 4:10 start. Please note, 4:10 start on the 24th. Celebrate Cuban Heritage Night at the ballpark. After the game, enjoy a live concert on the West Plaza with Cuban sensation Gente de Zona, presented by Bana Sugar. Stanton a triple in 3 trips. Drives that one right center field. That's deep. It is gone. Opposite field, Giancarlo.
Giancarlo, no cheapie. Just go to the deepest part of this ballpark.
It's 4-0 Miami. His 12th. The triple he had out there, he didn't get all of. He got all of that one.
Well, the hitting streak was stopped at 17 last night, but he's come out swinging tonight with a triple and a home run.
Now McGee. Here's a look.
Like a little slider out over the plate.
Barry Bonds is in the house tonight. I would expect he would appreciate that. That one kicked. And Hicks makes the play to get McGee. McGee can't believe that one. Stanton, his 12th. 4-0. And he blasts a homer to right center. And a 4-0 lead for Miami. Time now for the AT&T fan photo, hashtag FL fan photo, to get your shot on the game. Brian. That's a fun fan photo there, Tommy.
Yeah, they're having a good time. Family fan photo.
Tom Koehler back to work. 7th inning stretch has come and gone in San Francisco. Brandon Hicks. And a swing and a miss.
Well, how big, you look back at this game, how big a play was it? The challenge on the Brandon Hicks rounding first base and missing the bag.
It was an enormous turn of events. As we noted, this has been a series where every night there's been a play where bouncer McGee has it. On the first night, it was a play where you couldn't use replay because it was fair or foul in the infield. It was a crucial play. The one that Pence kicked from fair to foul. He should have been out. He got another chance. He got a base hit, and the Giants came up with a big inning and erased Miami's 4-1 lead. Then last night, when the Giants were threatening to score more runs, Stanton's drop in the outfield on the transfer was called a drop. Marlins challenged, and it was overturned and called a catch. And then, of course, tonight on the Hicks ball off the wall and right, he missed first base barely, but the Marlins video room, Pat Shine, saw that. Instead of a double, he was called out, and the umpires ruled on appeal that he touched it, but it was reversed by New York.
But watching Tom Koehler tonight, you say a couple of things. Command of the fastball has been there. Life on the fastball, that certainly has been there for him. And good breaking ball, the curveball and the slider. So he's had it all going for him. A nice comeback after his outing in Los Angeles. And I think big for the ball club. As we've talked about it, Rich, it's time for some of the starters to step up with the loss of Jose Fernandez, to take charge. And right now, Tom Koehler's taking charge of this one.
It's going to be interesting to see what Miami does with their rotation. If Randy Wolf ends up in the rotation, if Anthony DeSclafani is given that 5 spot, swing and a miss. Koehler, 2 outs here in the 7th.
And you hate to say this all the time, but another important outing, I think, for Jacob Turner tomorrow.
Andrew Heaney was throwing tonight, and last we checked, he was throwing well tonight. That was midway through that ball game. And that's a name that you haven't heard as far as coming up right now, but you know, a lot of people thought that if he had a nice start to his season, you might see him in the Marlins rotation come late June or July. And actually, looking at the box score tonight, Heaney and Jacksonville beat Pensacola 4-2. A swing and a miss. Tyler Colvin, who came in that double switch. Heaney went 7 2/3, 8 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 8 strikeouts. So he pitched well again tonight. His ERA,
that makes him, I think, 5-2, 4-2,
with an ERA of 2.35.
Tom Koehler closing in on his career high in strikeouts. His career high is 8. Did it once last year. Did it earlier this year. Koehler had an 8 strikeout game this year. in Atlanta.
Jones got the out, and Kohler goes 1-2-3 in the 7th. To the 8th inning in San Francisco. Tom Kohler and the Marlins, a 4-0 lead. Everybody bundled up. It's a windy night and a chilly night. First 2 nights of this series. Warm on Thursday, a little colder yesterday, a little colder tonight. David Huff will get Garrett Jones, Jared Saltalamacchia, Marcell Ozuna. In the 6th, Jones banged a sinking liner to left center. Angel Pagan dove for, missed. Jones ended up with an RBI triple, and he scored on the Saltalamacchia sac fly. He knocked in Casey McGee, who had doubled. That made it 3-0 Marlins. Stanton's homer in the 7th to deepest, darkest right center field made it 4-0.
That was a nice night last night. Garrett Jones 3 for 5. So overall, he's had a nice road trip.
He faced Huff. Last night. He's got Saltalamacchia behind him. Huff is out in front 0-2. That's a perfect pitch, although Jones didn't think so. So down he goes, first out of the 8th. MLB.TV Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service, and it's celebrating 12 years. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game streamed live online or on the go in true HD. MLB.TV Premium includes a free at-bat 14 subscription, allowing you to watch live baseball on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Go to Marlins.com for details. Marlins bullpen is active. A.J. Ramos getting ready.
It's amazing. Tom Kohler, and we've brought it up a couple of times because it was a lot of pitches, 103 pitches and 3 2/3 in L.A. Tonight, 100 pitches through 7 innings. Talk about command.
Is Kohler trying to keep himself in the ballgame here? He and Chuck Hernandez in discussion.
Nobody ever wins that debate with Chuck, though. You know, he's saying, you know what he's saying? He's saying it's cool. It's a cool night. only throwing 100 pitches. It was a day off Monday. Everybody's going to get an extra day's rest. He's trying all those things.
So it's LaMacchia on the button, but right at Crawford. Second out of the 8th. And here is Ozuna. Outside corner to Ozuna. Now Ramos is throwing. The pitcher spot is a couple hitters away, but Ramos is throwing like he's coming in the ball game for sure. And it could be Ramos for the 8th, Cishek for the 9th if all the cards fall right. Popped up. Hicks makes the catch, and David Huff works a very brief 8th inning. Looks like Tom Koehler is done for the night, and A.J. Ramos is coming in. 4-0 Miami. Four 4-0. Marlins on top of the Giants in the bottom of the 8th in San Francisco. And the Marlins are turning to their bullpen now. A.J. Ramos. And he gets the top of the order for the Giants. Ramos, a scoreless inning last night. It was Ramos done, and then Cishek, Pagan, Pence, Sandoval.
Yeah, no easy trio for A.J. Ramos to come in and face here in the 8th inning.
McGee charging as Pagan shortened the bunt.
We talked about it last night. Really a blow to the Giants with Pagan's injury, the hamstring injury, keeping him out for a good part of the year. Not only a good player, but a real leader on this ball club.
And Pagan, you know, a guy that the Marlins saw a lot in the East. 4 years with the Mets. Not a superstar player, but a smart player. A very good defensive outfielder, and he's made himself into a nice offensive player. Pagan 32. He's out of Puerto Rico, but he played junior college ball in Florida, Indian River Junior College.
Yeah, he talked about his ability to play center field in 2012, his healthy year. He led the National League in range factor, so it can cover a lot of ground.
Two balls, two strikes. And Pagan doing a nice job of setting the table. Marlins have seen a couple of good leadoff guys on this road trip. D. Gordon is having a very nice year in Los Angeles. Pagan swings and misses. Ramos strikes him out.
A.J. Ramos with that good changeup. Little fade to it, and got Pagan to chase it. Well, that ball faded away, and then the bottom fell out of it, too.
Now Pence was flied out, bounced out, tripled. Pence, a guy that the Giants acquired for the stretch run in 2012. He helped San Francisco win that world championship. And then last year followed it up with a really solid year with a great September. McGee gets the out. And Ramos has 2 outs here in the 8th.
Well, in his 2 stops last year, Pence had over 100 RBIs between the Phillies and the Giants.
Now Sandoval. Sandoval did extend his hit streak to 8. Just 1 for 3.
It's the way you like facing the big boppers, though, with nobody on base.
Is that a bald dude or a dudette? I think it's a dude. It is. It's a bald dude. That's what they call him in San Francisco.
Got a little bit of a bad hop off that mound down there, but stayed with it.
I like the fact that they put the bald dudes and dudettes in kind of tucked away behind that netting.
Yeah, they do not want them in harm's way.
No, because a lot of them
stay back there. That's all right.
Don't have a lot of range factor.
No.
But look at the glove he's got. I think that's that's his glove from childhood, maybe. Oh, 0-2. Where's our buddy, the bald dude?
We talked to
is it Roger?
Talked to Roger Gill. Talked to Roger this spring, and he wasn't. There were some other things going on that he wouldn't be able to be here at this time. I think he was still planning on coming out to San Francisco, but just not at the time the Marlins are here.
Sandoval golfs that one to center. Ozuna is there, and he makes the catch. 10-pitch, 8th inning. A.J. Ramos, terrific work.
How about some nice even numbers for Tom Kohler? 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, 100 pitches, offensive support. Danny Echeverria, base hit. Not quite an Omar Infante matrix slide, but a pretty good slide by Saltalamacchia. Scored the first run. Garrett Jones slices one out of the reach of Pagan. Another RBI. McGee comes in to score. Saltalamacchia, good AB with a sac fly. The Marlins picked up another run. How about some more insurance? 12th home run of the year. Giancarlo leads the National League in that department. 43rd RBI. He leads the major leagues in that department.
Echeverria shortens the bunt and tries to, and fouls it. Danny Echeverria, the pitcher spot, and Jeff Baker is on deck. Someone's hurt at the plate, and maybe Hector Sanchez. Giants trainer is out to look at him.
See, catchers always nod. I'm okay. The catchers are tough.
Even when they're not.
Yeah.
David Huff into his 3rd inning of relief. Giancarlo Stanton homered against him in the 7th. Most of the damage done against Tim Lincecum. 6 innings, 3 runs. Fly ball down the right field line. Pence in pursuit. And he bobbles and drops it. Echeverria on his way. That's a fair ball. You know what? You and I both had a chance to say hi to Willie Mays before the ball game.
Wasn't that a thrill?
He's in the ballpark. It was a thrill. And Pence is going to get an error. Say, hey.
Yeah, a long way to go, but he was certainly there, and he had to try to give it that basket catch. He could not do so, but because he touched it in fair territory, it's a fair ball, and Etch ends up at second base. So a chance to add on a little bit more.
So it's E9. Baker's up. Willie Mays. How old is Willie Mays? 80?
He's in his early 80s.
Early 80s. He still has enormously large and strong
How about the
hands.
handshake?
Yes.
Yeah. Incredible.
Ground ball into left. Base hit. Late start. Echeverria. They're going to send him. Up with the ball is Colvin. Here comes Echeverria. Here comes a throw. He's in there. And Baker is in to second base. A pinch hit RBI single by Jeff Baker. And it's 5-0.
All of a sudden, Jeff Baker's caught fire on this road trip as well. He's got an opportunity to play. Aggressive hitter. Goes after that first pitch and drives home Echeverria. Pretty good throw by Colvin, but Etch just beat it. And on the throw, Baker moved on to second base.
Yelich.
Yeah, two veteran guys on this road trip between Baker and Reed Johnson. Got an opportunity to play a little bit. They've continued to get some big hits.
Now Steve Cishek has loosened up, and now Kevin Slowey is warming up. Especially if the Marlins score another run and make it 6-0, you might see Slowey in the 9th instead of Cishek. Day game tomorrow.
Yelich not in agreement with Gary Cederstrom on that last call, and rightfully so. I'm telling you, every time Christian Yelich complains, he doesn't complain. You can just see he's not in agreement. He's usually right. And because of that call, it kind of made him chase that pitch. Tough night for Christian.
Same spot.
Same spot. So he's saying in his mind it was a different pitch. It was a fastball. The other one was a breaking ball. But in your mind, you're saying, well, he called it before. He'll call it again.
Dietrich now. Baker at second. Dietrich a fly ball to left. Brings Colvin over and in. And he makes the catch there. And now here is Stanton. Marlins Live post game. Allison Williams, Preston Wilson. Brought to you by Checkers. And it's coming up after the game. All the highlights from this one. Marlins with a chance to take a lead in the series. It's a 4-game set, which concludes tomorrow. We've got it for you 3:30 tomorrow for Marlins Live pregame. Stanton now, the second time that he's faced Huff. The first time he hit one out to right center.
Be surprised if he sees a whole lot to hit here.
Didn't see the distance on that, but I'm guessing 410.
Yeah, at least maybe a little bit further, maybe 420, because it's 420 in that other little area that kind of angles out.
I think Stan was looking for something out.
I think he was just trying to bait him, say, well, I'm going to chase this to keep you in this battle.
First base is open. We saw the home run in your game summary there. There's the speed off the bat. Heck, he's had singles faster than that on this road trip.
I'm already envisioning a showdown in the home run hitting contest between Jose Abreu and Giancarlo Stanton. Abreu has 15 home runs to lead the major leagues.
If Giancarlo Stanton played half of his games at that ballpark in Chicago, he would have 18 or 19 by now. Here's a 3-1. It's a strike. Counts full, 3-2. Boy, that was way in.
Oh, goodness. It's been a rough inning for Gary Cederstrom.
That is ball 4. Stanton walks. And I don't think McGee is going to get to face David Huff for the second time tonight.
Yeah, we've seen Gutierrez warm up a couple of times. He's going to finally get in a game.
5-0 Fish. Late night with a fish in San Francisco. With the Marlins on top, 5-0. Casey McGee pulls in. Juan Gutierrez out of the Giants bullpen. There are 2 outs here in the 9th. Miami trying to win their 2nd straight on a windy night at AT&T Park.
Trying to win their 2nd straight in the home ballpark of the team that has the best record in the National League.
Gutierrez's first pitch fastball is up. As chilly as it is, and I know Allison and Preston are all bundled up down there, can you imagine how cold it is right now out at Candlestick Point, which is the plot of land where they built Candlestick Park?
Well, and that's what was interesting when we were talking on Marlins Live about Willie McCovey, because certainly half his games he played at the Stick. And he also played there in the early days of the Stick when it was open in right field.
Pence is under it, and he makes the catch. And the inning is over. Miami adds a run. Jeff Baker. And it's Kevin Slowey coming in. On top of San Francisco, the Marlins trying to win their 2nd straight here against the Giants. And it's not Steve Cishek. With a 5-0 lead, it's Kevin Slowey. The challenge for Slowey, Tommy Hutton, is to keep Steve Cishek in a seated position.
Yeah, because you're talking about if all of a sudden the Giants get a couple of runners on, then Cishek is going to have to get up and start throwing again. And that would be for the 2nd time, and you talked about the day game tomorrow. So this is a situation where I'm sure Mike Redmond would like to have Kevin Slowey just finish things off and keep Cishek sitting down.
Michael Morse, Hector Sanchez. Then the pitcher spot due up, and Slowey comes in and throws a strike. Marlins have a lot of long guys in the pen all of a sudden.
Yeah, all of a sudden with Kevin Slowey and Brad Hand, and now Randy Wolf down there.
A ball and a strike. Morse has struck out twice. He has walked. Giants without a run have just 4 hits, and their last hit came in the 6th inning. Morse with a monstrous swing. And it's 1-2. Morse has had a terrific impact on the Giants offense. And he drills that one into center field, a base hit. So Morse is aboard.
And you have Sanchez. Then you have the pitcher hitting in the 6th spot. But you also have Buster Posey ready with a bat, I'm sure.
So Sanchez is up. Even with Slowey on the mound, the Marlins outfield is shifted heavily to left center. Look at Stanton is playing right in Triple's alley. And it's hit to right, and it's hit deep, and it's off the wall. Stanton retrieves it. And the Giants are set up 2nd and 3rd, and nobody out. And Steve Cishek will be up and throwing here in a moment.
And all of a sudden, that's a scenario that Mike Redmond had hoped for is not going to happen.
It's the gamble you take. Slowey certainly not accustomed to pitching in this part of the game. Buster Posey is coming in, and he'll hit against Slowey.
Well, with 2nd and 3rd and a 5-run lead, certainly the infield will be back. You just need the importance of getting outs right here.
2 balls hit hard. Morse to center, Sanchez to right. And here is Posey. He tried to yank one there. It's 0-1. Slowey's out in front, 0-2. And so Cishek is ready now. He had warmed up during the top of the 9th. But once the Marlins got another run, Slowey popped up. Posey last night, an 0 for 3 night. He did have a sacrifice fly. Oh, 0-2 pitch. And the reason Mike Redmond went with Slowey was hoping to give Cishek a day before a day game tomorrow. But now that Cishek's been up, it's the equivalent of him working tonight. It's the 2nd time he's heated up.
And you also have to think ahead for the game tomorrow if you want to use him in a safe situation. He was hoping to not have to use him 3 games in a row, and that would be the case if he has to come into this one and maybe is called upon tomorrow for a save.
One-two coming. Little tapper, Slowey, bare hands, throws, got him. Just got him at first.
Boy, good job by Kevin Slowey, and because of where that ball was hit, and without a lot of speed at 3rd base, Mike Morse couldn't go anywhere. Thought about going to the plate, but see where Slowey is. If he goes to the plate, that might be the only play for Slowey. So he goes to first base. Posey doesn't run that well either and gets the out.
Brandon Hicks now with 1 out. Hicks has bounced out 3 times tonight. This was a Tom Koehler start. 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs. A.J. Ramos handled that 8th inning flawlessly. Retired all 3 that he faced. Caught by McGee, and Hicks lines out, and Slowey has the 2nd out.
Boy, and has a real good chance to get out of this on his own.
And here comes Crawford. So the Giants are down to their last out. Slowey against Crawford. Even with Slowey, it doesn't throw hard. The Marlins still a dramatic shift to left center, and Stanton is, wow.
Homework assignment for tomorrow.
That's right.
Talking to Brett Butler, who gets the outfield position. We'll talk to him about that.
I mean, Stanton isn't even in Triple's alley anymore. He's on the center field side of it right now.
Yeah, and you pointed out you have a guy out there on the mound, Kevin Slowey, who's not throwing 95 miles an hour. So left-handers are able to pull. We saw Sanchez pull his double off the right field fence.
Slowey just misses. It's 3-0.
If he loses Crawford, we could see Cishek, because then it becomes, with the tying run in the on-deck circle, it would become a save situation.
By rule.
By rule.
The tying run would be on deck. And Crawford with a 3-1 coming. He lost him. Colvin is coming up. And Redmond is coming out. And so Slowey can't finish. He gets 2 outs, but he's going to leave with the bases loaded. And what Mike Redmond was trying to avoid in bringing Steve Cishek into the ball game.
The good news, if he has to use him tomorrow, Monday is an off day.
That is good news. 5-0 Miami. 2 outs in the ninth. Bags are loaded. Tyler Colvin is coming to the plate. If you do the math, getting the save of a 5-0 game is not easy. I mean, you got to come in essentially with the bags loaded.
With the bases loaded. Batter up at the plate represents run number 4, and the batter in the on-deck circle, the tying run.
Breaking ball up and in. Now remember last night when Cishek came into the ballgame, he missed with the first 6 pitches he threw. And he didn't look good doing it. And then all of a sudden, he turned back into Steve Cishek.
And these normally aren't the situations that Cishek comes in. Usually comes in to start an inning. As do most closers nowadays.
Colvin came in a double switch. He's 0 for 1. Bases filled with Giants. Morse, Sanchez, Crawford. Here's the 1-1. And it's 1-2. Cishek ready. And his 1-2. Got him! Fastball. Ball game. And Miami beats the Giants for the second night in a row. Steve Cishek gets a save of a 5-0 game. How about that? Giancarlo Stanton homers. The Marlins beat the Giants again. Big hits by Garrett Jones, Jeff Baker, and Adeiny Echeverria.